Welcome back. Today we're going to be doing our full review of the Autel MaxiCharger. Now this is the 40 amp version that either plugs into a NEMA 1450 or NEMA 650 outlet. You get to decide which one of those plug configurations you want when you order it. Autel also makes a 50 amp version, but that needs to be directly hardwired. We may review that in the future, but we're starting off with the 40 amp plug-in unit here today. Before we jump into the review, please don't forget, click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any electric vehicle charging news and reviews here on State of Charge. This video is sponsored by Qmerit, North America's largest network of electric vehicle charging station installation professionals. All right, so first off, let's take a look at the MaxiCharger's key features. Dimension-wise, it's 7.36 inches wide by 13.23 inches high and 3.35 inches deep. It's a 40 amp unit, which can deliver up to 9.6 kilowatt, and it comes as either a hardwired or plug-in unit. If you want the plug-in units, you can get it with a plug configuration of either the NEMA 650 or the NEMA 1450. We have the NEMA 1450 here in the garage to review today. It has a 25-foot cable, uses the North American standard J1772 connector. It has a NEMA 4 enclosure. The operating temperature is from negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 131 degrees Fahrenheit, which is negative 40 Celsius to 55 degrees Celsius. It's a Wi-Fi connected smart charger. It's UL listed, it's Energy Star rated, and has a 3-year warranty. All right, so on with the review. Let's pop open the box, take everything out, and see exactly what Autel includes with the MaxiCharger. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here. We have the body of the unit, which measures 7.36 inches wide, 13.23 inches high, and 3.35 inches deep. The NEMA 1450 plug, which is on a 12-inch cord. The J1772 connector that's attached to a 25-foot long cable. Two 2-inch screws with anchors. One small wall bracket screw. One T10 Torx wrench. One T25 Torx security wrench, one bottom entry power conduit plug, the wall mounting bracket, and some paperwork that includes the packaging list, quick reference installation guide, and amperage label stickers. All right, so now let's take a look at how we mount this guy on the wall. There's this mounting plate here. You'll notice there's 2 holes down the center. That's how it gets mounted to the wall. You have the supplied 2 screws. They're nice, big, beefy screws, so these will be sufficient. There are drywall anchors if you can't locate it on a stud, but I urge you to try to find a stud to mount this because the unit's not light with the cable. You might be pulling on it. I'm never a fan of installing the chargers on a wall and not grabbing into some wood and getting a real tight, locking it on there, because you never can tell what's going to happen. Someone trips over a cable, might rip it off the wall. So anyway, you're going to mount this on the wall here. You're going to screw the 2 things in, and then you'll notice once this gets mounted, there's 2 kind of like screw heads sticking out of the back of the unit. This will pop into here, and then it pulls up. And then on the bottom, there's a tab on the cradle here. That's when you use the screw that's provided, the little black screw, and you screw it in to there and it's secured. Now, obviously, you're going to do this while it's mounted to the wall, but I don't have it mounted yet. I'm going to do that next, and you'll see exactly what it looks like once it's on the wall. Let's take a look at that now. All right, so she's mounted on the wall now. Let's take a look at some of my initial impressions. First off, the connector. Very good connector. I think this is the same connector that Wallbox uses for the 40 amp Pulsar Plus. Those that follow the channel know that when I did the 40 amp Pulsar Plus review, I really loved the connector. But then when I did the 48 amp Pulsar Plus, they didn't use the same connector, and it's not nearly as good as this one. And I believe it was because this isn't rated for 48 amps. But in any event, this feels like the same one. It looks like it, it feels like it. excellent connector. Really like this. Super well made, rubberized, really good grip. This is at the top of the food chain in my connector list. Cable, not so much. Feels very rubbery, plasticky, I mean, not rubbery. You want rubbery, you don't want plasticky. It doesn't seem to be bending really well, and this is at room temperature. It's fighting me a little bit. So we'll see how it does in the deep freeze test, but I don't think this is going to fare well in the deep freeze test, but we'll find out. Another thing I want to point out is when I first saw the Autel, the picture of it, I thought this green ring here was an LED light, which, again, if you follow my channel, you know I really like backlit integrated connector holsters. If the unit is mounted in a dark place or outside, when you go to plug it back in, you know exactly where to plug because it has a light. So I don't think this, I think it's just green plastic here or metal. I'm not sure exactly what this is. It might be aluminum, but maybe when I plug it in, it'll light up. So let's check that out now. It's powering up and don't think so. It's just green plastic. Unfortunately, they missed an opportunity here. I would prefer if they had a couple of LEDs around there, so it makes it easier for you to just get this thing plugged in if you're in a dark area, and especially, like I said, if these are mounted outside. A lot of people have to mount these outside, and you want to just be able to plug the thing right in. And in talking about outside, we're going to do the cable deep freeze test next and find out how this guy does when it's below zero for 24 hours. So let's take a look at that now. All right, so let's see how well the MaxiCharger's cable performs in very cold conditions. I've had it in this freezer for 24 hours now. Let's take a look at how cold it is in there. So it's negative 15.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's pretty cold in there. But this is important for people that live in really cold weather areas. If the charger's mounted outside, it's going to cold soak in really cold temperatures. So the usability of the unit really hinges on how well the cable is manageable when it's really cold. This may not be important for those people that live like in San Diego or really warm weather climates, but for the people that live up north, this is really important. So let's check it out. Okay, as you can see, what I do is loop the cable up around in small loops, and now I'm going to see how well it opens up and is bendable. Let's hang it on the wall. Initial impressions are it's not going to fare well. Wow, I can't even bend the cable to get it off the unit. Look at this. Look at that. Wow. I can't even hang it on a wall. All right, I'm not even going to try. This may take the crown from the NLX juice box as the worst cold weather cable we've ever tested. Look at this. I can barely bend it. So yeah, this is really bad. So while I have it out here now, a few of my followers suggested I do the connector drop test, where I drop the connectors 5 times to see if they're strong, if they'll break. Some of my followers suggested doing it right after I do the cable deep freeze test, so it's cold, and that's a good suggestion. So we're gonna do that right now too. I'm gonna drop it 5 times. You can see the frost on the connector still, so this thing's cold. 1, 2, 3, and it broke. So we have a failure. I love the feel of this connector when it came out. It feels like it's a quality connector. Evidently, there is a weak point in the connector here that if you drop it the right way when it's cold, it will break. This is our first failure that we've had with the connector drop test. So the Autel is going to lose points for both the cable deep freeze test as well as the connector drop test. And to be fair to the Autel, as far as the cable is concerned, what I did was put the ChargePoint Home Flex, which is so far the best cable we've ever tested for our cold weather testing, in the freezer with the Autel for the last 24 hours. You can tell this is still frozen solid. So this is not thawing out at all. Now, let's take a look at how the ChargePoint Home Flex's cable performs under the same conditions. Let's take a look at the cable. See this? It will do whatever I want it to do. I can bend it like this. I can stretch it out. I can even put it back in large loops around the unit. Let's say the car was out charging all night in the cold and now I'm leaving for work, so I unplug it. It's stiff. You could see the frost on it, but this is fine. This works great. You can use this cable. You can, do whatever you need to do with it. This, it's been out for a while now. Look at it. It still doesn't bend. See that? It's holding the connector up. See this? This is what you want for cold weather usability. It makes a big difference if you live in a cold weather area and you need to charge outside. So now let's take a quick look at exactly what failed on this connector when I dropped it. The top piece, the tab that fits in here, rocks up and down, and this is how it attaches to the vehicle. This is plastic. I really like it when these are metal. And the piece that holds it to the metal bar on the inside, see there's a little metal bar on the inside, and this piece loops around it. That piece broke. The rest of the connector feels great. It's nice and solid, but that's your weak point right there. There's that little plastic circle that holds it to the rest of the connector, that holds this little rocker tab to the rest of the connector, and that failed and that broke off. So that's a pretty big failure. It only 3 drops and it was broken. So that's this is going to lose a lot of points in our ChargerRater. So wanting to continue the review, I thought I might be able to repair the connector. So I figured first I'd need to remove this pin in order to be able to repair the broken piece and slide it back in. And to my surprise, it did pop out. Next, I had to repair the plastic piece that cracked. Luckily, the 2 pieces that broke off were nearly fully intact. I just had to be really careful when I glued it so that the pin would then slide through the hole. If I was off by even a little bit, when I tried to push the pin back through it, the plastic would crack and it would be broken again. So fortunately, I was able to do it and it looked good. I could see right through it. It looked like it was the pin would slide right back in. So I tested it out by putting the pin through the holes and it did fit, but it was extremely snug. I'm sure it was looser than that before it was broken. So I carefully tapped the pin back through the holes and it seems like it's working. Now, it's not springing back like it should, and I think that's because the pin is really tight, but I think this is going to be good enough for me to use it and finish the review. Okay, so I took a closer look at that video recording, and unfortunately, the point of impact was directly on the tab, causing the plastic to snap and break. Now, I believe if that piece was metal, it wouldn't have broken, which really leads back to build quality. I love the way these connectors feel in your hand. They feel solid, but sometimes looks can be deceiving, and that tab definitely shouldn't be made of plastic, especially where it wraps around the metal bar, because that's going to be prone to break if you drop it. And as you saw here, it doesn't take much. If you drop it the right way, it's going to snap. And now what do? the whole charging station is practically useless because I don't believe Autel will sell you parts to fix it. You can take it apart and try to glue it like I did, but I doubt that's going to hold up very long. I did it just to finish this review. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the units here. Now, as you can see, I've got two Autel MaxiChargers up here on the wall right now, and that's because Autel makes the MaxiCharger in two different versions. It's actually the only electric vehicle charging station that I've seen that comes like this. You can order it with either an integrated connector holster where the connector holsters directly into the body of the unit like you see here. And this is the same exact unit with a remote connector holster here where you can then locate this wherever you'd like to. You can take this and I have it mounted on the wall here with, let me see if I can pull this thing down. These are pretty tight, my slot walls here. But this unit here can be mounted anywhere you want in the garage. And that way you can have the MaxiCharger plugged in near your NEMA 1450 outlet or hardwired, and then this installed, say, on another wall of your garage, maybe right where the charge port of your car is. So you only have to grab it and plug the car in. So I really like this option. And as I said, it's the only charger that the manufacturer gives you the option of either or, which I think is really cool and smart on Autel. Personally, I think I would elect for the remote connector holster because not only do they give you this remote connector holster, this is actually a really good one. It has a swivel here, similar to the ChargePoint Home Flex. The only thing that I would criticize, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record because I keep mentioning this in my reviews, I can't wait for a charging station manufacturer to install a little LED light in these. I've seen the integrated connector holsters have an LED backlit, but never on the remote connector holster. Now they could easily put one little LED in there with a little one of those flat batteries and have it only turn on when the connector is removed. There could be a little tab in there, and as soon as you put it in, it shuts off the light so it's not running all the time. That's would be a really good, useful feature for people that have these chargers installed in dark areas and outdoors. So sooner or later, somebody's going to listen to me and do that. I don't think it would be too expensive of an upgrade, and it would really make the connector holstering a lot easier in darker environments. Now, in addition to offering an integrated connector holster version and a remote connector holster version, Autel sells two different MaxiChargers. One is the 40 amp unit, which I have here. Both of these are 40 amp units, so they can be plugged in so I do my reviews. They also sell a 50 amp unit. The 50 amp unit needs to be hardwired because the highest level of pluggability you can have on these charging stations if they deliver 40 amps. Once you get above 40 amps, they need to be hardwired. And quite honestly, I recommend that you hardwire any of your permanent charging equipment. Now, it's different if you have a smaller, lighter, portable unit that you're going to take with you, but these larger units that are meant to be wall mounted, I'm recommending that people hardwire them. I used to recommend that you can go either way, whatever you select, but honestly, I'm starting to see failures of these NEMA 1450 outlets if they're not installed correctly, if they're cheap equipment, and you know, we just don't need that. And quite honestly, I originally thought that people might use these portably. Oh, it's great to plug it in because you could take it with you. Fact of the matter is, people don't take these with them. These get mounted in the garage, plugged in, and then they just leave them there forever. So honestly, I'm recommending that you hardwire your home charging equipment. It's just a better, safer installation. I'm going to be doing a dedicated video on that topic soon. In about 2 weeks, look for that, where I'm going to have Qmerit, my channel sponsor, have one of their electricians, professionals, their EV charging equipment installation professional, and I are going to sit down at a table and talk about why you would really ought to consider hardwiring your electric vehicle charging equipment because of what we're seeing now in the field, failure of some connectors and the outlets themselves. In any event, look out for that. It's going to be in a couple of weeks, and it's just another reason why I recommend hardwiring and also always hiring a licensed electrician and actually somebody who specializes in electric vehicle charging equipment to install any of your home charging equipment. The MaxiCharger has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Ethernet connectivity. So let's walk through how you pair your app with the unit. Once you've downloaded the app, You are first asked to enter your phone number or email address. You'll then be sent a code, and after entering it, you can set your password and country. Once you've registered, the next step is to pair your MaxiCharger with the app. At that point, you need to scan the QR code that's located on the side of the unit, but it's also located in the back of the installation guide. You then have to enter the password, which is also in the installation guide. However, if you scan the QR code directly from the guide, it auto-populates the password. So I'd recommend doing that instead of scanning the code from the side of the unit as you see me doing here. Next up, you pair the device with your Wi-Fi network. And once that's done, you're asked to allow the app to have either your exact location or an approximate. I gave the app permission, but then entered an address which is about a mile from where I live. So what you see up there on the screen isn't my actual address, so don't come knocking. You then have the option to add your home electricity cost, which I did. I did that so the app can tell me exactly how much it's costing me to charge my EVs. Click Next, and from here you can add a charging schedule as well as set the maximum amperage that the MaxiCharger will deliver to your EV. Interestingly, the default setting was 32 amps, so if you want the unit to deliver the full 40 amps that it's capable of, you have to change it in the settings here. Then once you've done that, you can tap Complete. You're all set up and ready to charge your EVs. Okay, so I've been using these units for a couple of weeks now, and they do deliver the 9.5, 9.6 kilowatt max that they're supposed to, so that's a plus. I've charged both my Rivian R1T and my Ford F-150 Lightning with them, and I've seen greater than 9 kilowatt for both of them. The more I use this cable, the less I like it. It's very plasticky. It doesn't bend well, even here in the garage where it's not that cold. It's not too thick. I measured it, and it's only 18.3 millimeter, which is pretty good for a cable. It's not on the thicker side. Usually the thicker cables are more difficult to maneuver. This just has a very plasticky jacket instead of being rubberized, and it's very stiff. Probably one of my least favorite features on this unit is the cable. It is 25 feet long, the cable, which is very good. That's pretty much the longest you're going to get on any EV charging equipment. I think that's the longest you can have by the Underwriter Laboratory standards, because I've never seen a cable longer than 25 feet. And in any event, it works. If you're in really warm weather areas, you might not notice it being as stiff. So I think if you're, depends on where you live, but if you live in a really cold weather area, especially if you're going to mount this outside, or if your garage gets really cold, you're going to notice it's difficult to really work with. Okay, let's take a look at the screen here. Initially, I thought this was like a big display screen. I thought I was going to get to see like the real-time power draw and how many kilowatt hour it delivered. That stuff's all available in the app, but it's not available here. This is just a black plastic screen. It doesn't display anything. What you do see are these 5 different icons here: power, internet, charge, Bluetooth, and RFID. Because you can have the unit controlled by an RFID card if you live in, say, an apartment complex, or even have workplace charging and you need to control who uses the unit, you can have an RFID card. Now, it is an option, so I guess you have to pay for that from Autel, but you can have those cards activate the station, swipe it, so not anybody can use the station. You have to have that card to activate a session. One of the things that's interesting here with these lights is I like how it has the text that tells you what it is: power, internet, charge, Bluetooth, RFID. However, this is a thin plastic like shipping protector which peels off, and when you peel it off, you lose those words. Now, I guess not a big thing because you'll learn what it is, but I kind of like that it's on there, and I thought it was interesting when I unpacked the first one, I peeled it off. I left it on this one, which I probably would do if I own these and we're going to use them every day. I kind of like the fact that it's on there. I'd leave it on there until it got really scratched and you didn't want to leave it anymore. But I don't know why they didn't have that printed on the screen. I just think it's cool, and I don't know why they didn't use this to display something. I think it's a missed opportunity there. I would love if this displayed the energy output and your cumulative kilowatt hours delivered. It looks like a screen. It's kind of strange that that's not what they used it for. Maybe it is, and maybe at some point in the future they'll change it and update that, but another missed opportunity. I think that would have added to the unit and would have made me like it a little bit more if this was actually a display screen. The MaxiCharger's app is available for both Android and Apple users. And the app can send you alerts. You can check your charging status. You could view past charging sessions. You could even see monthly totals for your charging, which is really cool. It gives you the exact amount of energy and money that it costs to charge your vehicle for that month. You can also adjust the amperage in the app. Now, one of the things I like to see, and very few charging stations can do this, is an internal dip switch to set the maximum amount of power that the charger can deliver, but then also a setting inside the app. So you could set it down a little bit further. You won't be able to exceed what you've set internally in a dip switch because you'd be able to overload a circuit. Some charging stations only allow you to adjust the amperage in the app, and somebody can make a mistake and overdraw their circuit. The MaxiCharger actually has a physical dip switch inside the unit that limits the amount of power it can deliver. But then inside the app, it allows you to adjust your amperage. So you can dial it down lower. You can't exceed the maximum power draw. But I like that because there are instances where some people like to slow down the charging rate. And it's going to get an extra point in our ChargerRater because it allows you to both set it internally and adjust the amperage inside the app. The 40 amp versions of the MaxiCharger, whether it has the integrated connector holster or remote, are available for $559. The 50 amp version is $599. So, quite honestly, I would buy the 50 amp version because for $40 more, you do get an extra 8 amps of charging power. Now, what is that going to translate to? Well, first of all, your EV has to be able to accept the 48 amps in order for you to be able to take advantage of that. Now, many of the new EVs on the market today can accept 48 amps. And even if your EV that you drive today cannot, your next one probably will be able to. So my recommendation, if you do like the Autel MaxiCharger, is get the 50 amp version and have an electrician directly hardwire it. You're going to thank me in the future. That version, the 50 amp version, can deliver 11.5 kilowatt to a vehicle. This 40 amp version can deliver up to 9.6. What's that going to translate to? Well, depending on how efficient your electric vehicle is, the 50 amp unit will probably add somewhere between 4 and 8 extra miles of range for every hour you're charging. So that's the difference there. Both of them most likely will charge your EV overnight, even if it's at a very low state of charge when you plug it in the night before, unless you have an EV like I do with a giant battery pack. Both the Rivian R1T and the Ford F-150 Lightning have very large battery packs, and if I pulled in completely empty at the end of the night, the 40 amp units wouldn't completely replenish the battery. The 48 amp units might not even. It might be close. That's why Ford came out with this 80 amp charger that can deliver up to 19 kilowatt. You need something like that if you've got a really big battery electric vehicle and you want to completely charge it overnight. The fact of the matter is most people don't come home at night with a very low state of charge with an empty battery and need to completely replenish it over the night. Most people drive 40, 50 miles a day. Either the 40 amp or the 48 amp MaxiCharger will completely charge the battery by the morning. Okay, so there's 3-year warranties that come with either versions of the unit. They are UL listed, so these are safety certified, and they're also Energy Star certified. They're not using a lot of energy when you're not using them. They're efficient chargers, so that's always something that I look at. I like the fact that they have the Energy Star certification. Okay, so all that's left now is the ratings, and for that, we're going to go to my ChargerRater first. I am going to read off each individual line item. I started not doing that in my reviews, and I had a lot of people complain about it. But the reason why I didn't do each line item is because I also had some people complaining, saying, Tom, it just takes too long when you do that. And it does take long. That's why I added a chapter in the description of this video. If you don't want to listen to me go over each individual score, just click on that next chapter and jump to the end of the video. Okay, so first let's take a look at the cost and value category. The 40 amp unit that we reviewed here today cost $559, so it gets 1 point. I consider that a good value. All of these charging stations have gone up in price over the last year with supply chain problems and inflation. So actually, if you get a decent unit for under $600 these days, it's a good value. So it gets a point for that. It finishes up the category with 17 points. Next, let's take a look at power and weatherproofing. It delivers 40 amps, so it gets no points for that. It has adjustable power, and I talked about this earlier. You can adjust the power both with the app and an internal dip switch, so it gets 2 points for that. I really like when the units do that. The weatherproof rating, it's a NEMA 4 rated unit, which means it's good for blowing wind, snow, and rain, driving rain. That's really pretty much the highest rating we get on these units. So this is good for outdoor use. It is energy certified. It gets a point. It does have automatic restart. What I do is have the unit on and charging one of my vehicles, and I go downstairs, turn the circuit breaker off, and then I turn it back on, and I see if it reinitiates the charging. I did this with the MaxiCharger, and it does. It takes about a minute or so, but it starts charging the vehicle again. That's important if you have a power outage or a brief power outage overnight. You wake up and the vehicle's still been charged. It finishes up with a really good score in power and weatherproofing, 21 points. Next up, we have construction and durability. It lost 1 point for the connector and holster category. Now, it would have lost more. I actually was going to ding it about 3 points because the connector broke. However, the fact that it has two different versions of the connector holster, which I consider both of them very good, it didn't lose those 3 points. It gained a couple points back, so it only lost 1 point for connector and holster. Now for cable length, it gets 2 points because it's the longest rated cable that we can get. For cable pliability, it's going to lose 2 points here because it's poor. In fact, this may be the worst cold weather cable that we've tested here, or at least it's tied with the NLX juice box. This is not the cable that you want to use outdoors if you live in a cold weather environment, especially the northern United States, Canada. This is not the unit that you want if you have to install it outside and you live in that area. Robust construction, it's average. It's made of plastic. It's not anything very strong. It's not weak, so it doesn't gain any points there. Removability, it doesn't get any points. It's just simple. It doesn't have a security lock for easy installation. For easy removability. Ease of installation, it's simple, so it doesn't gain any points there. Finishes up construction and durability with 14 points. Now let's take a look at the smart and non-smart category. It is a smart charger, so it gets 2 points there. It is not power share capable, so you cannot hook up multiple MaxiChargers and have them all communicate and share one circuit. Now, it doesn't say that it can in any of the instructions, so I'm assuming it can't. I did reach out to Autel, but they haven't responded yet, so I'm assuming it cannot. If it was power share capable, it would be in somewhere in the literature or on their website, so I'm assuming it cannot power share. If I'm wrong and it can, I will then amend this review. Is it Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant compatible? No, it's not. It doesn't get a point there. Does it have good charging record data? Yes, it does, so it's going to get a point. Is the MaxiCharger OCPP compliant? Yes and no. Let me explain. Out of the box, the units are not OCPP compliant, so they're not going to get the extra point. These units are not. However, I did reach out to Autel, and they do sell a version of the MaxiCharger that is OCPP compliant, so you can get that if you wanted to participate in utility demand response programs. Okay, so the total for the smart and non-smart category is 18 points. Next up is safety certification and warranty. It is safety certified. It doesn't get any points. You only lose points if your charger is not safety certified, it loses 5 points. That's a very important thing there, but all these units should be safety certified, so you're not going to get any extra points for being safety certified. The warranty, the way it works here, you get 1 point for every year warranty. The MaxiCharger has a 3-year warranty, so it gets 3 extra points. It finishes up the safety certified and warranty category with 18 points. That gives the MaxiCharger a total of 88 points in our ChargerRater, which translates to 4.4 stars out of 5. Now, as you know, I always offer my own personal score and then average it in with the ChargerRater because not everything can be quantified with points. And I use these units for at least a few weeks when I do these reviews so I can get a good feel of them. I mean, that's why you see sometimes early in the reviews, I might say something and then at the end of the review, correct myself because after using it for a little while, I've changed my opinion. You could look at the connector. When it came out of the box, I grabbed this thing and was like, oh wow, this is great. I love this, nice and solid. And then you saw what happened. However, I have good news on that front. Earlier in the review, I mentioned that I'm going to reach out to Autel and ask them if you can repair these connectors. And quite honestly, I was expecting to hear back from them and say, no, you know, if it's broken, that's it. And if that happens, the unit is basically worthless because it's very expensive to order a cable and a connector. You can from some third-party outlets out there, not necessarily Autel or the companies that make these chargers, but there are third-party suppliers that'll sell you a cable and a J1772 connector. You then have to open the charger up, disconnect the connectors, connect the cable. It can be done. I don't recommend you doing it, but it can be done. But it's very expensive, and it's quite honestly, it makes it not worth it because it almost costs like half the price of getting a whole new charger. So you might as well just do that and not mess with it. But the good news is, so I asked Autel, would you send me a replacement? I want to fix this. And they did. They sent me the part right here. So this is great, and it has the spring. I had lost the spring when it broke. That's why, if you remember, I said it doesn't snap back. I had to kind of push it back up. So the spring must have bounced somewhere in the garage here when it dropped, and that's really why it wasn't functioning well. I got it to work, but I have to kind of push it up and down to get it to click in, and you would not want to use it like that. So then I followed up and said, okay, that's great. You sent it to me. I'm doing a review. You want me to be happy with this unit. If one of my followers buys this and it breaks, will you send them the part? Will you sell them the part? And they said, absolutely. So you can get one of these replacement parts if it breaks. And to me, that's really important. I've had followers reach out to me and tell me their connectors broke on various units. The ChargePoint Home Flex for one of them in particular, where I actually even reached out to ChargePoint on behalf of the follower and said, look, you know, I recommend they buy your products, and they bought it because of my review, and he dropped the connector and it broke, and now he's got to throw out a $700 charger because a $5 part is broken. And basically they said, yeah, like we won't sell you parts, we won't send out the parts. So that's something to consider. Autel will sell you a replacement part if the connector breaks, if the part on the connector, at least that I broke, which really is the only thing that's going to break on this, is the rocker tab here that locks it to the car. So, you know, in my opinion, that really helps me feel better about this unit. So, and that reflects in the score. So I'm going to give it, actually, I'm going to agree with the ChargerRater here and give it a 4.4 stars out of 5, which is still a very good score. It's not the very top of what we've reviewed here on State of Charge. It's certainly not at the bottom. It's a very respectable score, and it's a recommended unit as far as I'm concerned. I think it's a good unit. Probably wouldn't go as far as to recommend it if you're going to mount it outside and you live in a cold weather environment, but other than that, you know, I think it's a pretty solid unit, and with some minor tweaks, I think this can be an excellent unit, but we'll keep on top of that. And if Autel makes any of the changes that I'd love to see, I mean, I'd love to see, as I mentioned, a backlit LED for the connector holster. I'd like to see this screen do something. It looks like it should do something. So maybe a future iteration will give us some information on that. You'll be able to see the charging power, kilowatt hours delivered, and all that cool stuff. But for now, final score 4.4 stars out of 5 is a very respectable score. And as I said, it's a recommended unit here on State of Charge. And there's one more Autel product that I want to get my hands on, and I have a feeling I will in the future. On their website, they show that they sell a bi-directional 12 kilowatt DC charger, kind of like the Ford Charge Station Pro. It has bi-directional capability. Not only can you charge your electric vehicle, but if the EV is capable, it could send power back to your house. Now that's 19 kilowatt charger. It can deliver 19 kilowatt to the vehicle, but then the vehicle can only offload about 9.6 kilowatt. But this Autel unit seems to be 12 kilowatt both ways, I believe. In any event, the problem is, I don't know if it's available yet, because on their website, they don't even list a price. You have to fill out a form and they'll send you a price quote, which is kind of weird that they won't just say, hey, it costs this amount. But in any event, that's a unit that I am really interested in. And I think at some point in 2023, hopefully I'll get a hold of one and do a review. I want to do a review in the future of all of the bi-directional chargers that are available on the market. So I'm going to see if I can get a hold of a bunch of them and then do one video kind of comparing all of them. All right, well, that's pretty much it for the Autel MaxiCharger review today. The only thing we have left are my top hits and misses. On the hit side, I like the fact that there are connector holster options. You can buy this unit with either an integrated connector holster or with a remote connector holster. That's unique. No other chargers actually give you that option to get it either way. So I like Autel's thinking with this. I also like that the unit is available in either 40 amp or 50 amp versions, plug-in or hardwired, and with different plug configurations. You can get the plug-in unit with either a NEMA 1450 or NEMA 650 plug on it. So they give you a lot of options, and that's what I like to see. I also like the fact that this can be RFID controlled, and that will limit the access. That makes the Autel MaxiCharger a good choice for apartment buildings or workplace charging where the ownership needs to control the usage. So we need more units out there like this where they can be placed in public, and quite honestly, management can decide who gets to use them and who doesn't, because in some circumstances, that's what's needed. So I like that they offer that. Let's take a look at some of the messes. Okay, first off, we got to say, well, the connector broke. Unfortunately, I think it was partially the fact that it dropped right on that plastic tab, but hey, it broke and we can't discount that. It shouldn't break. I also don't like the cable. It has a very poor cable, not just for cold weather. Even using it here in my garage where it's like 50 degrees, it's not very pliable or bendable. It's fighting me just to loop it back around the unit, and I don't like this cable. The MaxiCharger has a very poor cable. It's nice and long, 25 feet long, but it's not a good quality cable. The outer jacket is more plasticky than rubberized, so that's not something that I like. I also think that Autel missed an opportunity to have a nice display screen. The whole top of the unit looks like it's a nice, LED display, but it's not. It's just black plastic. That would be so nice if that displayed your current charging information, the kilowatt draw, the kilowatt hours dispensed. I think that Autel should consider adding that here, and that would make the unit that much better. All right, well, that's it for the Autel MaxiCharger review. We hope you learned a little bit about this unit and helped you make a decision whether you want to purchase one or not. If you like what we're doing here at State of Charge, please don't forget, ring that notification bell, subscribe to the channel, give us a like, all that good stuff so you don't miss any upcoming content. And as always, thanks for watching.